Hi there guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. For those of you who's here the first time, my name is Tian Conradi. I'm the Flying Dutchman, and I get asked a lot of times what do I use for my nutrition, or what do I advise with regards to nutrition, especially with the guys that I coach. And it's a very touchy subject because it's you can sometimes open a can of worms when you start talking about nutrition, because the variety is so big, and it's such a person specific thing. You almost have to try everything for yourself. There's only one way to find out what works for you, and that's by trying it, by trial and error. You've got to try it, because what works for me is almost certainly not going to work for you. You've got to find your strategy and what works with your body. All our bodies are different, so it's a very touchy subject. It's something that a lot of people don't really want to touch on. But I've been running for about 35 plus years, and I think I've tried enough nutrition strategies, and products and brands and stuff like that I found what works for me at least. And maybe I can give a bit of guidance and advice on what to look for, what to try, and maybe a strategy that might, that you can try and see if it works for you. Okay, so there's a few guidelines I want to touch on, that we use in terms of nutrition, guidelines or rules, or whatever you want to call them. And the first one we're going to look at is what you eat during the day, during your normal day, affects what you're going to eat on race day. I always have the discussion with comrades, guys, that during the day they have breakfast, they have snack at tea time, they have lunch, they have afternoon tea, or whatever the case might be. They eat throughout the course of the day, yet they get to comrades and they want to run 90 Ks on gels and chocolates and Mari biscuits. It doesn't make sense, does it? So of course it's not viable to be carrying a chicken mayonnaise sandwich with you on the road if you're going to do comrades. You've got to find a way to blend the two into each other, so that what you eat during the day, that it does provide you with enough energy to sustain your training, number one, and secondly, that what you eat is something that you can pull on through to your race day nutrition strategy. I believe any ultra marathon event, you have to eat. You can't survive just on gels and sugars and that kind of stuff. You have to get some solid food in, because that's our best source of energy. The second one that we're going to look at is what works for you doesn't work for me. Like I said earlier, we're all different. We have different body weight, different sweat rate. Our metabolic rates are different, and all those things affect the calorie intake that you need, and what you need to get from your nutrition. So for that specific reason, we're different. Your body does not digest gels very well. You have stomach issues when you use a specific gel. I can use any gel I want because my stomach is maybe a little bit stronger, or we're all different, and for that reason, what works for you doesn't work for me, and almost certainly doesn't work for the next guy. So you've got to find what works for you, and the only way to do that is to basically try everything out there. Right. So the next one is, what works in training doesn't always work during racing. It happens. It's the same as with any marathon or any ultra distance event you train for. When you wake up in the morning and you open your cupboard to get dressed, you might just pick out the wrong pair of legs, and you just feel flat. It just happens like that. Sometimes the nutrition we take, we've used it in training religiously. We know that it works. We know that we've tried it in other races. For some reason, we get to race day, and it just doesn't work. It doesn't wanna work out together. With what we take, we keep feeling flat. It doesn't give us the boost or the energy that you expect from it. It happens. The next one is basically have a backup plan. Things go wrong. Things doesn't always go your way during a race. You've got to have a backup plan, and the backup plan for the backup plan, because when nutrition go wrong, and especially in an ultra distance event, it can, if you're not prepared for something else, it can really go wrong. It can go wrong in a bad way. 10 Ks on an an ultra marathon is a very long way. When you're flat and tired and you've got nothing else to take, or you don't have anything on you, you've got to have a backup plan for stuff like that when that happens. I've been there. I've taken 2 hours to run 10Ks on races before where I haven't got stuff with me, and it's just you've got to have a backup plan in case your plan A doesn't work. And the last one is try everything. Like I said, it's a trial and error thing with nutrition for me. You've got to try what works for you. You've got to find the gel that doesn't mess with your stomach, or that the energy bar that digests the best. And those are just things that you've got to go through. Find out maybe fruit's better for you. Maybe it works better if you have like me, you have a steers burger at the 60K mark. We're all different, and for that reason, you've got to try, and you've got to try, and you've got to try until you get to that place where you find what works for you and what your strategy would be like. Okay, so I break nutrition down into real food, which is nuts, fruit bars, that kind of stuff. Gels, we all know the energy gels and these chews that we get. We get to go to liquids, and then the last one is the add-ons, which is like your salt tablets, your electrolyte tablets, the caffeine shots, that kind of stuff. So we're going to start off with real food, and it's kind of self-explanatory. It's energy bars, it is fruit, nuts, whatever you define as real food. I know a guy that have sit down for bacon and eggs breakfast halfway at the halfway mark at Comrades. And another guy that has a bowl of butternut soup. Some guys run on biltong, other guys. I have a steers burger at the 60K mark. I mean, you've got to find your kind of solid food that works for you. The key though is that you have solid food. If you're doing an ultra distance event, I don't think you can survive on just gels alone. Well, we'll get to the gels just now. You need something solid because you normally eat during the day, so you can't expect your body to function if you don't have something solid. It's not always easy during a marathon to kind of have these things on you, and it helps when you have someone that can give it to you, or you have an aid station where you can leave it the day before or something like that. But yeah, it's more probably a little bit more suited for trail ultra distances where you have a backpack and you can carry these things, because logistically on a road race it becomes very difficult to do these kind of things, and you would need someone to second you or to help you in that regard. But it's definitely the best form of energy we can get, and it also adds on to the fact that it is like a meal. So even if you only have 2 bites of the steers burger, it does feel like you're taking in something of more sustenance. It breaks that gels and chocolates and that sugar intake that you've been having throughout the day. So it's definitely something I would recommend in terms of your nutrition strategy. Then we get on to gels. I don't think I have to say too much about energy gels, other than I'm not too sure that they actually work. We've got an industry and science that tells us that they do work, but whether I take them or not, I sometimes can't really feel the difference. And I take them religiously though. So the disadvantage with gels is the amount of sugars that gets added. I mean, you get flavors like any kind of flavor you can think of. There's an energy gel in that flavor. So there's lots of sugars and lots of add-ons onto it that makes it more liquid or less liquid or whatever the case might be. So gels for me is more it's more a case of being your stomach being able to take it, and it being able to taste nice. It needs to be palatable. I'm sure as hell not going to use a gel that I struggle to get down for 90 kilometers, let alone something that doesn't mix up with that doesn't taste nice. So you've got to find something that tastes nice and that's palatable, and those are the two core ideas that I look for when I look at an energy gel. whether or not it's got 100 grams of carbohydrates in it or 600 grams of carbohydrates in it. For me, it's neither here nor there. It kind of tastes the same, and yeah, I think you've got to look at the gels and on. I look at gels in that regard. Liquids, again, like with the real food, the liquids is more comes to in a ultra distance like a trail race or something where you can have a backpack, you can carry the water bottle with these things in it, and that's kind of the best of both worlds, because you can have you can actually put a meal replacement into a bottle, and that can basically that will help you um, have like I said, the best of both worlds. Unfortunately, again, the logistics is just not there in terms of a road race unless you have someone that can hand you the bottle. But then you have to be able to run and drink with the bottle, which provides a challenge in itself if you haven't trained like that and you're not used to running with a bottle and drinking out of the bottle. So it's much easier when you have a backpack. So again, it's something you've got to try. It's something you've got to test and try it in training. Try it when you're out on the road and you can afford to make mistakes and you can afford to have stomach issues. The last thing you want on race day is to take a bottle and start drinking, and you're not used to carrying a bottle, or you're not used to whatever's inside the bottle, stuff like that. That's like rookie mistakes that you don't want to go anywhere near that. And the last one, basically, we look at salt tablets. It's anything that you add on to your nutrition strategy. So if you find that you cramp a lot, well, there's a lot of research that suggests both ways. You can use the cramp knots of certain brands that have got cramp knot gel and cramp knot tablets, or whatever the case might be. If you find that you need something extra, you need maybe a little bit more salt, then have a salt tablet. If you feel like you need a bit of fuel injection when you get to the 30K mark of a marathon, then have a caffeine shot. So those things are a little bit more. It's an add-on to your nutrition strategy. That's not necessarily something that you would take all the time. Like electrolyte tablets, that's something that you can add on as the longer the duration of the event that you're doing. But again, it's something you've got to try, see what works for you, and you've got to find the best strategy that suits your body and your digestion, and your taste, more importantly than everything. Because when something doesn't taste nice, we tend to not take it to begin with. We tend to not enjoy taking it in either. So it's got to taste nice. Bottom line with nutrition is don't be afraid to experiment. You've got to try and test and see what works for you, and find your magical or magic recipe, and what really makes you tick, and gives you the energy that you need for long distance events. It's not an exact science. Doesn't matter what the industry tells you. Doesn't matter what science tells you. We're all different, and unless you've been to a lab and you've been tested, um, not any energy brand or gel brand or whatever the case, whatever brand out there can say this is good for you, this is ideal for you, because they don't know your body, they don't know how your digestion works with that gel or that product, so it's a very person specific thing. You've got to try it, you've got to test it. It's got to be palatable for me. It's got to taste nice for me. And it really has to. It has to be something that I almost enjoy taking, rather than I have to take it. Yeah. So in a nutshell, that's kind of like what I wanted to touch on with regards to nutrition. Let me know in the comments below what you do. I'd love to hear more stories about people having bowls of butternut soup at halfway at Comrades. Put a comment in below and let me know what you use or what works for you. Maybe it's something I can try, and maybe it's something that'll work for me. So yeah, if you like videos like this, you want to see some more of it, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you tick the bell so that you can get notified when I make more videos like this. And until next time, cheers.